Okay. I feel like I'm like a chat show or something. I don't know how to sit. Okay, so I'll just get started. So I wanted to make a YouTube video to talk about property because I feel like it is so important. Like, property is like the bread and butter of the economy. But it's something that's not taught in schools, it's not talked about a lot. It's a bit of an awkward subject for a lot of people. You know, like, people don't like talking about money and things. So I thought, why don't I just make a video? If people want to listen, they can listen. If they don't have to. But it might help some people. So on my Instagram, I asked if anyone had any questions regarding like property, mortgages, first time buyers, etc. And I got quite a lot of questions, so that's good. So I just thought I would just crack on and answer as many as I can. So I got quite a few, so I'm going to just try and fire through them quickly and hopefully it helps some people. Let me know if it does. The first question I wanted to answer was, well, it was two, but it's kind of like the same question. So just advice on how to start and what's the first step in looking for a property. Okay, totally fair enough. It is a total minefield. I feel like a lot of people are like, where do you actually start? So for me, I just started by looking online at properties. Just the same way you would, you know, go online and look at like clothes for your weekend. Like, if you've got a night out, you just go and look at dresses. You know, if you want to book a holiday, you would go and look at holidays. So for me, it was the same, but just look at property. There wasn't I didn't restrict myself on what I was looking at. I would look at really expensive houses, I would look at like the cheapest houses on the market, I would look at everything. So that would be my first tip, and my first step is like, just look, because the more you look, you'll kind of figure out what you like, what you don't like, you know, what kind of price you would be willing to pay, what you wouldn't be willing to pay, and obviously you know yourself what you would be willing to pay. So that would actually be it sounds so simple, but the first step is just to look, and everything after that will kind of, you know, fall into place, hopefully. But yeah, just start looking. You can't do anything until you find somewhere, so just start looking. That's my first tip, as simple as it is. That is it. So what to look for when finding your first property. Okay, also a good question. So once you've found something, then you would kind of look at, you know, local amenities. So is it close to a train station if you take the train, so you don't drive? Is it close to a train station, bus station? You know, if you've got a family, is it close to schools? Is it close to supermarkets? So for me, I was like, when I found a property that I was interested in, I put it into Google and I was like, you know, the property address then nearest train station, because I didn't have a car at that point. So everything had to be within walking distance for me. So supermarkets, train stations, work, because I'm working in the city centre, so I was making sure that it was close enough to town that it wasn't going to take the whole day to get there. So, you know, I would put like the address and then in Google Maps to town or to my work, and then figure out the distance. Just basically envisaging how I would work my life around living here, if that makes sense. So to answer that question, what to look for when finding your first property is what's nearby and if that's going to work for you. There's no point, you know, looking at a house in the countryside when you work in town and you don't drive and all your friends live somewhere else or your family lives somewhere else and you want to be close to them. It just wouldn't make sense. So be sensible and see what's close by. Also, what to look for when buying your first property. This is going to be different for everyone, but for me I wanted it to be in good condition, because I personally didn't want to move in somewhere and have to do loads of work to it. Fair enough, some people like doing that, and some people, you know, that's what they're interested in. They want to move in, do it up, sell it. But for me, I just wanted to live and enjoy it and not have to come home from work and start like knocking down a wall every night. Like, that was not what I was interested in. So for me, I wanted somewhere that was to a decent standard, and although I would decorate it and make it my own, I didn't want to have to do too much to it. So I was looking for a property that was already to a livable standard. So again, if you can relate to that, look for somewhere that is of a high standard. If you're looking to flip a property or rent it out, you're going to be looking for different things. So if you're looking to flip a property, just look for somewhere that's got like good space, good potential. If you're looking to rent a property, look for, you know, a property that's near schools, and like I said before, what's nearby. Is it going to appeal to people? Is it close to universities if you want to rent it out as a HMO? Loads of things, but you'll know best what suits you and what suits the goal for why you're buying this property, if that makes sense. So, next question. Help for first time buyers. Houses are going for crazy amounts over the asking price. This is a tough one because you're so right. Like, since COVID, the market has just been crazy. The house prices have like flown up, and there is no guarantee they're going to come back down, which is so annoying, because a lot of people are like, I'll wait till the market crashes again. But see, to be honest, like, nobody knows if it's going to crash. It could literally crash tomorrow, or that could be up now until whenever. Like, it could just keep going up now. There's no way of knowing. So it'd be so easy for me to sit here and be like, yeah, it's going to crash, wait until wait until house prices come down. But there's no guarantee. So my advice would just be, there's no right time. There's never going to be a great time to buy, I don't think. So if you see somewhere, if you've got the funds, if you really want to go for it, just go for it. I know that's not probably what you wanted to hear, but there's just no guarantee that the prices are going to come down. So yeah. Do you need a lawyer? Yes. Simple answer, yeah, you do. Everything needs to be above board, everything needs to go on record. There's so many things that a lawyer needs to take care of that you wouldn't be able to do yourself. You can obviously save the money, you can look for a house, you can do all this stuff, but when it comes down to into the fine details of everything, it is a solicitor that needs to, do that. So unfortunately you do need one and you do need to pay the fees as well. So that's an extra cost that I would maybe kind of account for when you're looking for a property, anywhere between roughly about £1,000 for that. So the next question along the same lines, do you need lawyer fees? Sorry, my eyes, the flash, I can't read what I've written on the paper. So, do you pay lawyer fees per each house you put an offer on, or an overall fee? So the solicitor and the estate agent work together to put an offer on a house. So the solicitor would put in an offer to the estate agent. So you would hire the solicitor and they would get in touch with the estate agent and they would take care of that. So what this person's asking is, for every house you put an offer on, or your solicitor puts an offer on, do you need to pay the solicitor for each offer? Say you put an offer on for a house and the offer gets accepted and then the seller pulls out and that's it, back to square one. Do you need to pay for, every time that happens, or every time, someone changes their mind, or every time you make an offer and it's not successful? Basically the answer is no, you don't need to pay for every single one. But what tends to happen, and I'm speaking from the knowledge I have, some firms might be different. So you would put an offer on a property through the solicitor. I've got a lisp, so sometimes when I say solicitor, it doesn't come out the way I want it to come out, but you know what I mean. So basically, you would put an offer on a property through the solicitor, and they would hold your name on record. They would have a little case for you, a little file for you. If you were successful in your offer and you took the offer all the way through to, buying the house, settlement, so the lawyer's done all the process, you wouldn't be charged for the offer stage. You would just be charged your lawyer fees. But if you wanted to make an offer and the offer wasn't successful, and then you pulled out of using that firm, they would charge you probably a couple £100 for the offer. So if you wanted to stick with a solicitor and make multiple offers until you got a successful one, they wouldn't charge you for that, but you have to stick with them through the whole process. Whereas if you just wanted to make offers and not even do the actual transaction through them, you know, if you change your mind or you decided to go with someone else, they would charge you for their time of putting those offers in for you. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, give me a message, but I've tried to word it as best I can. Next one, are there any companies to avoid / scammers? So there's definitely mortgage lenders and solicitors that have maybe not got a good reputation, and some that have an amazing reputation. I'm not going to be the one to sit and tell you who's good and who's not good. What I would say is do your research. So ask friends and families, you know, who's your mortgage with, how are they, would you recommend them, oh, what solicitor did you use, what are their fees like, were they helpful, how was their customer service. Yeah, look for recommendations. I think that would probably be the best way to go. And if you don't know anyone that you can ask, just Google, just use Google, look for reviews, look for advice. What I would say sometimes with Google reviews, just like anything, they can be quite unfair, because I feel like Google reviews, people tend to only go on Google reviews if they've got something really bad to say, and if they've got enough time in their day to sit down and do a really bad review. You don't tend to see the great reviews on Google. I feel like people just go there as like an outlet for like a bit of rage. So I would be careful with that. So my best advice would be to ask like friends and family and see if they would recommend their solicitor or their mortgage lender. Sorry, I was like, I'm going to fire these questions out, and I'm literally like spending half an hour going through each question, but I guess that's better than just not giving a good answer. So these are my answers. How much should you ideally have for a deposit? Again, very circumstantial. I would say probably between... So some lenders actually give you a 95% mortgage, so you only need 5% of the property price to be able to buy the actual property, which is amazing if you're a first time buyer, you know. So when it was me, I saved 10% of what the property cost, because it was like COVID's. So I bought this in June 2020, and COVID obviously started about 2-3 months before that. So lenders weren't giving the 95% mortgage. They were saying to everyone, you have to have 10%. So I was kind of like, oh, okay. I was working a lot and whatever, but so it was fine. Just for security, I would probably say between 10 and 15% of the property price. Again, I'm saying it's circumstantial because you'll know what you can afford, you'll know what property you want, you'll know how much you want to spend on it. So have a look and then figure out, okay, so it's telling me the purchase price online, I'll probably need 10%. How much would that be? And that's your answer. And then maybe add on like £1,500 to £2,000 for like legal fees and all the rest of it, insurance and stuff. So yeah. What should I consider / do before applying for my first mortgage? Again, just look. So I actually didn't even have a mortgage in principle or a mortgage in place before I found the property I wanted to buy. I went and looked for a property, and once I'd found the property that I wanted and I knew I wanted it, that's when I sorted out, you know, the mortgage side of things. You don't have to have a mortgage in place before you can start looking. So to answer that, I would just say look and find a property, because that's what I did. So that's my advice. How important is credit score, and how do you make one better? So credit score obviously is important. If you've got a bad credit score, the bank is not going to lend you money, and a lot of money, you know, as a mortgage, because at the end of the day, they have to look out for themselves. If they think that you can't pay your mortgage, they're not going to give you like a loan. You know, they're not going to give you a mortgage because they don't want to have to deal with the hassle of coming to your door and taking your TV away and stuff, or you know, worst comes to worst, taking your house off you because you don't own the house. The bank, well, you do own the house, but until you've paid it off, the bank could repossess it. So that's why credit score is important. So the bank need to know that they can trust you, basically. And how do you make one better? You can just be good with your payments. So pay your phone bill on time. If you've got a car on finance, pay that on time. Just make sure there's not any like red flags against your name. So what I potentially would advise, so I've never done it, and I've never had a credit card. I don't intend on getting a credit card. They just seem like they would be too much trouble for my liking. I've not obviously you don't really hear about the good experiences of credit cards, you only hear about the bad things when people say like, oh, I ran up my credit card and I couldn't pay it back and blah blah blah. That to me sounds like hassle. I'd rather just spend the money I actually have and not money that is not mine. That stresses me out. But I do know people that have got a credit card just to improve their credit score. So they have their credit card, they maybe spend like £50 on it a month and they pay it back straight away. That builds your credit score. So if you can trust yourself, if you're disciplined enough to do that, then again, I hate saying get a credit card because I would be a hypocrite, but I know some people do that and it does work. So yeah. Also, there's an app called, my boyfriend told me about it, called ClearScore. And so I was looking for my phone there and then I realised I'm filming with my phone, so but it's called ClearScore. And you can go on and see your credit score and you can build it up over time, and that gives you a good indication of where your credit score is before the banks, you know, before you wanted to go and get a mortgage, so that you could work on it if need be. So that is that. A question here, saving, how do you stop yourself from buying treats daily? Okay, yeah, so if you do want to buy a house, you're going to have savings. So how do you stop yourself buying treats daily? Just discipline. I know it's so boring and like you only live once and there's holidays to be had and, you know, catch flights, not feelings and all that stuff. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I really do. You just need to weigh up what you want and how quickly you want to get there. So if you want a house next year and you've not started saving, like you're gonna really have to like get your arse in gear basically. And stop, you know, if it's like coffees or lunches, like all that stuff, like bring a packed lunch, bring a coffee from your house, make it at home, bring it in a keep cup. You know, buy like a train pass that's like a monthly train pass, so you're not buying a ticket every single day and they're usually cheaper. This is just some stuff that I do. So, you know, you don't have to, you know, if you go on nights out, you don't have to drink on every night out. You could like just take the car. There is so many ways of doing it, but you need to want to do it and you need to be disciplined, otherwise it's just not going to work. So that's my advice. As boring as that sounds, like you just have to get it done. So what things do you wish you had done differently when buying your first property? Oh, that's a good question. So first thing that comes to mind is I didn't ask to see the loft, which sounds so strange. When I came to view the property, she was like, oh, and there's a loft and you've got all the loft space, and I'm like, oh, like amazing. I'm not really intending on using a loft because what, like I don't need it. But it's obviously good to have this space. And then I didn't think anything of it, and then I moved in, again, didn't ever go up to the loft. Then like 9 months maybe after living here, there was like a bit of a leak coming through my living room like window, and I was like, right, I'll get someone in to look at it, blah blah blah. They were like, okay, yeah, it's leaking, but it's leaking from the roof, so we need to go up into your loft. There's probably just a slat missing from the roof. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine, get the ladders out. So bearing in mind I've never been up to the loft, get the ladders out. The guy goes up, fixes the roof, and he's like, do you know there's like there's so much stuff up in your loft, and I'm like, I've never been up. Like, no. And then I went up and looked, and there was so much crap left in the loft by the last person that lived here. And I was just like, so that's now my problem. I now have to like get all that stuff down because the next person that wants to buy this will probably have enough brain cells to think, can we look at the loft? So, long story short, my advice, if there's a loft, look in it. If there's crap in the loft, tell them that you're only buying the house on the condition that they clear all the stuff out of the loft. That's what I wish I'd done differently. Also, probably I would have asked if I could speak, I would have met the neighbours, and I would have maybe chapped on their door just to introduce myself and see what they're like. I didn't do that. And but yeah, so I probably would have done that. I would have maybe done more investigating into who you're living with or living near. I think that's really it. That's the only things that come to mind. Everything else like was pretty straightforward, and it has been fine. So yeah, I wouldn't have done much differently, but those two things, if you're watching this, please do that, because I don't have any regrets in life, but those two things I would say are my regrets. So that concludes the questions. I hope that helps people. I hope you got a bit of insight into what it's like to buy a property, or how to buy a property, or what to look for, saving, mortgages, credit score, all that really exciting stuff. But I do feel it's not talked about enough. So hopefully it helps some people. If not, don't worry about it. If it did, let me know. Or if there's anything else I didn't answer or that you want more info on, literally just message me on Instagram. And yeah, hope that helps. And I really want to make more videos, and I've had this channel. I made it in lockdown. I made this channel in lockdown, and I was really into it because I had so much spare time, because I was on furlough and the gyms were shut and everything else. But now I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. But now I just need to figure out how I can kind of get it up and running again. So that's what we're trying to do. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.